Wednesday was my worst day. Slow, I'm not like sneeze, and then I'm running. No, no. Now it's like hard to make myself sneeze when I feel like I should. And then my nose only runs like twice.
Such an improvement.
Buenos días y bienvenidos. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson on Sunday, February 22nd, which, for those of you old enough to remember, or those of you interested in trivia, used to be known as George Washington's birthday. First, some housekeeping. Be sure your cell phone is turned off or at least on silent. There are 2 gender-specific bathrooms in the front lobby, and in the alcove behind the AV desk, there is an accessible gender-inclusive restroom. There are also more gender-inclusive bathrooms in Goddard Hall across the patio. On Sunday mornings only, this sanctuary, the social hall, our parking lots, and the children's classrooms are considered to be public spaces. However, we have designated a number of other areas as private. Private offices are labeled with yellow signs, such as the ones you see on the 2 doors at the back of this room. And entry to those is by invitation only, even for law officers, including ICE agents, unless they have a proper judicial warrant. If you need to take advantage of those private spaces at any time, you are hereby invited. The values of our faith call us to take this position in light of the policies of our current administration. On behalf of the congregation, I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone, but especially to visitors, including those of you who may be watching us on live stream. If you're here in person and you're willing, please raise your hand so that we can welcome you if you're a visitor. Wow. Lots of visitors today. Glad you're here. The subject of today's service is how do we help everyone to feel welcome here? Keeping that in mind, please join me in this litany by responding to each prompt with the words, "We welcome you." Whatever your physical or intellectual ability, we welcome you. However you identify your race or ethnicity, we welcome you. Whatever your employment or housing status, we welcome you. However you identify your sexuality or your gender, we welcome you. Whatever your immigration status, we welcome you. Let's also be mindful of those desert people who came first to this place and whose land was stolen in successive acts of genocide and displacement. We honor the O'odham, the Yaqui, and the Apache. We also remember the Hohokam and other indigenous peoples whose names we no longer know. And finally, this week, I want to highlight one of our UU values. Well, we do that every week, but the one I want to highlight this week is generosity. We practice gratitude, and we share our resources and our presence, that is Presence, either way, I guess. That is not just our financial support, but also our time and our service.
Ramadan Mubarak, everyone, and good morning. We are finishing out this month of radical welcome today, although we hope it doesn't end with today. 2 weeks ago, we defined radical welcome as expanding our understanding of who is welcome here in order to open wide the doors to those who find value in Unitarian Universalism. So I was going to make a joke today that there will be a test to begin to see if you were listening last time. But it's not actually a joke, is it? We are tested in our commitment to radical welcome every Sunday and every day of the week even. It is not a paper and pen exam, but more of a practical exam, a verbal exam, a kinesthetic exam. In fact, every day we are placed in situations where we are called upon to either inhabit the ethos of equity, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, or not. Those times when we are at the coffee shop and someone cuts in line, at the sports ball game when our team, or worse yet, our child's team is losing, right? At the library when somebody marks their place in a book with a slice of cheese. Or at a staff meeting when someone prattles on and on and on about their pet project that really could have been an email. And at church, when someone sings too loudly or sings off key, or tastes the last item off the snitch plate, you know who you are, or sits in my spot, or disagrees about how our limited budget resources should be spent, or claps after the interlude. Yes, these are real moments that try our patience and might make us reject that darn radical welcome altogether. We just want to be comfortable. We want to be right. We want to be righteous. So in those moments, we return again and again to the light of our chalice. As Reverend Michael Tino reminds us, quote, "The flaming chalice was first used by the Unitarian Service Committee as a symbol of life-saving refuge for people fleeing persecution in Europe in the 1930s and 40s. As we light our chalice, we invoke that love that called people to put their lives at risk, literally at risk, in order to save others. May we too be vessels of such deep and profound life-saving welcome. Come, let us worship together." And as Bob lights our chalice here, and you're invited to light your chalice at home, may we say these words together by Eric Walker Wickstrom. "We light this chalice for all who are here and all who are not, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this spiritual home, and for those we can't even yet imagine. For each of us, and for all of us, may this flame burn warm and bright."
Would you please rise as you are able and join me in singing "Love Will Guide Us," number 131 in the Gray Hymnal. This song always makes me happy. I hope it brings joy to you in the moment. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love has guided us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Every week, we witness the joys and sorrows of our congregation. As we pour water into the bowl, we remember those people around the world without access to safe drinking water, including those who may be crossing our desert here in Arizona in search of a better life. The large rocks in our bowl symbolize our collective joys and sorrows. And in a moment, you will add smaller stones representing your own individual celebrations and mournings. Our church community, like the bowl, can hold all of these. We are stronger together than separately. If you want to share your joy or sorrow with all of us, you can go to menti.com and put in the code 4115 2912. Adding your name if you wish. I invite those of you here in person to come up to the table and place a stone, creating ripples of memory and hope. There is also a bowl on the table in the back if you don't want to be on camera or if it's more convenient.
On our Menti today. Building resilience this week by tackling yet another car issue. Have to tell you, sometimes I feel strong enough and I just want those things to stop. Joy for a new healthy granddaughter. Congratulations, Dee Dee, yay! We hope we get to see pictures. Excited and grateful that my family and partner are coming to visit Tucson in the next few weeks. Oh, wonderful. We hope you have a good reunion and wonderful time together. Please join me in a moment of prayer or reflection, meditation, whatever feels right for you, with these words by D. Scott Cooper. We bow our heads in order to imagine not one path, but many. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health, financial hardship, family crisis, and other roadblocks others cannot begin to understand or imagine. We imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will, and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families elsewhere. May we be a welcoming presence along that path towards hope for all we encounter. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path towards hope. May we imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely, for those who feel abandoned, for those who don't know there's a community that can love them. Let us join now in a short moment of silence.
Will you leave the silence in a song, a sung prayer? The words will be on the screen. It's 391 in the gray hymnal. Please remain seated. Voice still and small. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear your call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
This is a quote. "The family is like the forest. If you are outside, it is dense. If you are inside, you see that each tree has its own position." This Akan proverb is the opening lines from Yaa Gyaltse's 2016 novel, Homegoing. We can easily replace the word family with church. The church is like a forest. If you are outside, it is dense. If you are inside, you can see that each tree has its own position. Or more broadly, culture. If you are outside, it is dense. Inside, each tree has its own position. Radical welcome is that meeting people on the edge of this forest, showing them the safe way through, introducing them to the position of each tree, and then, and this is the actual hard part, empowering them to plant and cultivate the forest in the unique way that only they can imagine. What happens when we don't extend that kind of hospitality? I would imagine you've had an experience like that, a time where you were new someplace, maybe work, or your in-laws' house, or a good friend's family's house, or a new gym, or maybe even here, and felt that the group or place was dense. Not dense in the head, I know you went there, but that the relationships and the expectations, the way we do things here that you don't know, are dense and impenetrable. What are the things you didn't know you needed to know? And maybe there are times you ran into those expectations unintentionally and they smacked you in the face like a tree branch. It stings, right? Maybe you think next time, oh, I'll avoid that path and that tree, and then it happens again. A different path, a different tree, and again. You start to wonder if it's intentional. You start to wonder if you are invisible or unwanted. Worse, you might start to wonder if you are inadequate, not normal, unworthy. For some of us, these little subtle acts of inclusion happen daily and in more situations than we can count. In their book, Tiffany Jana and Michael Baran describe these tree branch slaps, or as they name them, subtle acts of exclusion. They are different in every situation, but the one thing they have in common They undermine our end goal of inclusion and radical hospitality. Subtle acts of inclusion. So these things are subtle, as the name implies. There's a wide range of acts that insult, exclude, and harm, and by calling them subtle, the authors Jana and Beran hope to shed light on the fact that they can be confusing, hard to identify, and challenging to speak about. They're little slaps. It's an occasional sting. Right? Some of these exclusions may feel subtle to some, but they're obvious to others, especially those who experience these slaps again and again. So these are subtle. They're acts. They are things that people do and say. We don't know what someone's intention was. We can never know what someone's intention was. And even if we have a good intention, it might still be that subtle slap. So this term does not focus on what the intention was. They are subtle, they are acts, and they serve to exclude, to make someone feel that they are not welcome in this space. This is a problem for the larger culture where repetition of these subtle acts of exclusion reinforce and maintain systems of power, inequity, bias, and what is considered normal. Jana and Beran acknowledge bigger, not so subtle acts of exclusion and discrimination in the world. Quote, other types of exclusion may include explicit or intentional exclusionary or exclusion or inequity. Explicit acts of inclusion would include things that people do purposely to exclude, including acts that can be objectively labeled as racist, sexist, hate crimes, intimidation, and more. So we are distinguishing between these big, active, intentional acts and these small little slaps in the face that come even if we have good intentions. They are subtle, they are words and acts, and ultimately they serve to exclude others from being in that forest of community. They often happen when people are trying to be good people. They slip out when people have good intentions. Some of the examples they give are when we're trying to give a compliment. Oh, you're so professional. Well, of course, I'm at work. This is my profession. When we're trying to be curious. Where are you really from? When we're trying to show comfort or affinity. Oh, you're from Jamaica? I love Bob Marley. And when we're trying to be funny. Can we get el mucho discounto? And to be the initiator of such a comment, which we all have been, is not because we have an unfixable character flaw. These subtle acts of exclusion come out of our deepest, unrecognized internal biases, which we are fed constantly through our culture and through our experiences. For example, most people would explicitly say that all children have equal potential to excel in science and math, and classroom studies show that teachers regularly praise and encourage male-identified children more in math and science than they do female-identified children. Biases exist. So by focusing on the exclusion as an act, we can find ourselves in a position not of despair, but of deep hope. We can focus on what we can do better. We have the opportunity to learn and grow and be more welcoming and inclusive. And to be clear, some of us experience subtle acts of inclusion. Some of us experience them rarely. Some of us experience them daily. Some of us can be assured that any place we choose to enter will feel familiar. We'll be able to navigate even the unspoken rules with ease. Some of us can be assured that the places we are obligated to interact with, such as schools, government, grocery stores, medical practices, and yes, church, will feel deeply unfamiliar. We will regularly encounter unspoken rules that we must learn and adapt to. Even church, maybe especially church. Sunday morning is still one of the most segregated moments in the American week. In 2025, the Pew Research Center reported that 2/3, so 66% of US adults who attend religious services in person at least a few times a year, so it's a smaller and smaller group, but still 66% say they go to a church, synagogue, mosque, temple, or other house of worship in which all or most other congregants share their race or ethnicity. 66% of us. Churches are segregated. 2/3 also go to congregations where their senior religious leaders share their race or ethnicity. Another 2/3. We are segregated not only by race, but by other factors that would prevent UUCT from becoming as diverse as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Where do we see our segregation happening? Age? Socioeconomic level? Education? Ability? What if creating the radically welcome community we aspire to be is as simple and as difficult as confronting our own subtle acts of exclusion? Can I give you a real example? So here at UUCT, I encounter all the time, people look at our congregation and assume we are all white. In fact, we're not. But rather than being a source of embarrassment for us when we say we're all white and we fix that assumption, it should be a point of pride. It should be a point of pride that we are not all white here. We just need to learn not to assume who people are by the way they look. Even that book with cheese as the bookmark, do not judge it by its cover. I had a professor at Starr King, Devorah Greenstein. She gives some other real-life examples. She says, subtle acts of exclusion can be verbal, such as someone telling a person with multiple sclerosis, "Thank God I've been blessed with good health." Or a well-meaning person who lets a person in no uncertain terms know that, quote, "Your disability is God's way of testing your faith in him." Or even worse, your child's disability. Can you imagine the harm, the hurt? And I know some of us have heard that. Subtle acts of exclusion can be behavioral. An ordained minister who uses a wheelchair had a congregant approach her in her church, patted her on the head, addressed her with a child's term of endearment. Another ordained colleague who uses a wheelchair during worship, the layperson decided they weren't sitting in the right spot, pulled their wheelchair towards them hard enough that the wheel came off of their chair. Subtle acts of exclusion can be environmental. Greenstein shares the story of an historic New England church that built a ramp, but told people using wheelchairs that the nearest accessible restroom was in the pizza parlor across the street, right? A church in California tried to rectify that situation by putting a commode chair behind a shower curtain in a utility room to serve as the accessible restroom. Churches have installed elevators but keep the keys locked up in a locked drawer in a locked administrator's office, which nobody can get to on Sundays. And rooms where people are wearing so many scents and perfumes that people with chemical sensitivities have to leave or choose to become ill. And institutional. Subtle acts of inclusion can be institutional. What about those songs and our hymnals that we have that sing to God? What do we do about those? What about songs that include brothers and sisters but not non-binary folks? What about when a church decides to hold important decision-making meetings in the middle of the workday when working people cannot attend? What message are we sending? And I'm sure you can think of your own. Maybe you have a long list of subtle acts of inclusion that you face here and elsewhere in the world. And that is our topic of conversation this afternoon after social hour at 12:15. Come back here and we're going to brainstorm what we can do about it. So verbal, behavioral, environmental, institutional. Quote, "Nobody is painting swastikas on walls. Nobody is being beaten up. These are unintentional, subtle acts of inclusion, everyday and commonplace." End quote. And we can do our best to undo them. Remember, inclusion happens when people feel valued, respected, and part of the group. So, this is the point in the sermon where I'm supposed to offer profound insights and wisdom. We can all go home because Unfortunately, the answers for fixing subtle acts of exclusion is less than revolutionary, and I'm sure we'll create a bigger list together. I think it starts with thinking before we speak, right? Practice in advance, especially when you decide you're going to become the ally who intervenes in an act of exclusion to make the situation inclusive. Practicing in advance helps. Intervene when you notice something. Extend more subtle acts of inclusion. How can we make our social hour more inclusive? How can we make worship more inclusive, meetings more inclusive, choir, all of our life in this church more inclusive? What is one thing you personally can commit to do to welcome someone else? And apologize and make amends, right? We're all going to make mistakes. That's why it's a behavior we can change. If we don't apologize, we don't get better. So I believe our moral compass, our shared personal and philosophical drives, point us towards becoming as diverse as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. So are we willing to do the hard work that is going to take?
Would you please rise as you're able and sing this song about that magical moment of inspiration set to an old rollicking shape note tune. Once when my heart was passion free, 335 in the gray hymnals, and the words will be on the screen. Once when my heart was passion free to learn of things divine, the soul of nature suddenly outpoured itself in mine. I held the secrets of the deep above the heavens above. I knew the harmonies of sleep, the mysteries of love. And for a moment's interval, the earth, the sky, the sea, my soul encompassed each and all as they encompass me. Please be seated.
Like joys and sorrows, the offering is something we do each week. This congregation is entirely self-supporting. That is, we don't receive any outside funding for the regular ongoing operations of the church. So obviously, we need your financial support. At the same time, we say that all are welcome here, regardless of your financial means. And we mean that. Contributions range from a few coins in the collection basket to multi-thousand-dollar pledges often paid on credit card on a monthly basis. Please know that we appreciate all gifts to this community of faith. Giving can be a spiritual practice. If you're watching online, you can mail a check to the church office or go to the church website, uuctucson.org/donate. For those of you here in person, the ushers will now circulate baskets for your donations.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Valdez, and I'm on your Board of Trustees. My portfolio is Community Life, which includes many of the groups that sponsor our rich community activities. First, I want to invite everyone to social hour after the service in Goddard Hall, which is out the double doors behind you and to your left. There will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, snacks, and good company. Social hour food and refreshments are free for all, and donations are appreciated to cover our costs. If you are new and want to stay in touch with us, you can fill out a guest information card at the Welcome Center in Goddard Hall. You can also find a virtual guest information card in the newcomer section of our website. Well, I have a bunch of, I wanted to highlight one of my groups today, which is the Kitchen Crew. Yeah, these dedicated volunteers do a lot of hard work every week to provide treats and beverages. The cost is supplemented by the contributions. Once a month, they serve a lunch for a small fee. They also cater special events like our wonderful auction that we just had. Thank you for the wonderful service you do, Kitchen Crew. Yay. We were talking up there about the auction, and I want to reiterate how grateful we are to the many, many volunteers who made food, hung decorations, entered data, organized tables, and helped the night of the auction. We could not have done it without them. And if you want some flower power of your own, several of the textile decorations that hung in Goddard are free for the taking. Wow. Contact Julie Fisher-Rowe if you're interested. I don't know if she's here today. I saw, yes, she is. She's back there. Did you hear that? She wants the peace hand. She gets priority. The bidder invoices with your total amount owed have been sent out by email, and you can pay online or by check. The donor receipts have been emailed to auction participants by the Auctria auction database. If you did not get yours, contact Barb Recca. I don't know if she's here today, but anyway, her email I can give you later if you need that. Could the winner of the 50-50 raffle please contact her? We have some items that are still available for purchase, and we'd really like to sell them. There's one, board games and snacks, offered by Jim Myers. Date to be decided. I think all of these things, no, some of them do have dates. Art and mindful meditation. That's one with the date to be announced. An Asian dinner. An astronomy discussion. Also a date to be decided. A St. Patrick's Day Irish pub trivia and snacks event. That's March 15th. A flower arranging class. And there are 2 dates for that. The last is wine and chocolate tasting. Also the date to be announced. So if you're interested in any of those things, please contact Barb Recca. Then we have 2 things happening today. First, immediately after the service, come and learn about the Josefina Ahumada Worker Center, a worker-run collective which connects employers with professional, honest, and reliable workers. Their collective work is to empower workers to find sustainable and dignified work, from skilled labor to moving, handyman and house cleaning. There's a worker ready to handle all your jobs. You can learn more in social hour, or I have an email address, a website if you would like to after the service, I can tell you. And I wanted to reiterate that at 12:15 right here in Holland Hall, we're going to talk about Radical Welcome. How does it show up in your own life? How does it show up here at church? This will be an open discussion and dreaming about how we can help to build the beloved community. So after the service, you can come and talk to me or someone else with a blue board lanyard if you want more information. So thank you.
Please join me in singing the gratitude song. Words will be on the screen. We are grateful for the sun and moon, the sea, the earth, for living things that all have worth, for desert brown and sky of blue, and grateful to be sharing them with you.
Okay, so I have a story for us today. I got friends up. Anybody else want to come up and be close? No? Because you all are going to help me tell this story, okay? So are you ready? We are warm and ready. Okay, so this is a story from the Middle East Islamic tradition. It's attributed to several different countries and communities, but it is about a very famous teacher called Mullah Nasruddin. Okay? So he had been working all day long out in the fields, and he was tired and sweaty and hot. You know how you get. We had some people out working this morning watering plants and probably hot and sweaty and dirty, right? And it was also Ramadan, which is the month of fasting in these communities. So he was out working in the hot sun, no food, no water, sun up to sunset. And he got a letter in the middle of the day. He opened this letter, and it was from the wealthiest person in the community. The wealthiest family said, "Everybody come to my house to break our fast tonight together." How do you think Nasruddin felt when he got this invitation? This is for anybody. Oh, Joey, go ahead. Probably excited or happy. Yeah. Ben? Why do you think he might be sad or mad? Because he might just want money. That's very possible. Very, very possible, yeah. And he might also have been a little nervous, too, because it was right after he got done with work, and he looked at he probably didn't have a tablet planner kind of thing, so he looked at his calendar in his head, and he said, if I go to home to change and clean up and get a shower, and then I try to go out to dinner, I'm going to be late. So he decided that he was going to go straight to this dinner right from work. So he shows up at this wealthy man's house. And he knocks on the door. And the man comes to the door. And what do you think the man does? He looks him up and down. You know that look. Looks him up and down. Looks at him out of the corner of his eye. Doesn't say anything. Turns his back and leads him into the dining hall. Does that feel like a warm and good welcome? Would anybody feel welcome by that? No. I wonder what that man was thinking when he saw Nasruddin there in his dirty work outfit, maybe a little bit late for this dinner. What do you think the rich, wealthy man was thinking or feeling? How disrespectful for you to show up a little bit late in your absolute dirty worst work clothes. So Nasruddin goes into the dining hall. He joins a table with people wearing their finest clothes. Clearly, they were able to go home and change after work. The tables were laden with all kinds of food. What are your what foods would you want to see on this table? Chicken. What else? Grapes. What else? Dates. What else? Oh, Italian pasta. What else? Brussels sprouts. Yes! Kid after my own heart. What else would you want to see on this table? Salmon. Chocolate. Bob knows me too. What else? Jalapeno poppers. Right? All of this wonderful food laid out on this table. And Nasruddin sits down and people sitting next to him get up and they walk away. He is left at the table by himself. How do you think he was feeling at this moment? Sad. Yeah. Rejected, hurt, upset. Are these the subtle acts of exclusion that we're talking about today, right? So Nasruddin decides he's going to go home and change. So he runs home, he puts on his very best jacket, and then he goes back to the man's house for dinner, and he knocks on the door. The man opens the door, and what do you think is his response this time? Glad you're here. That's the doorbell, yeah. Glad you're here, welcome in, here's a place at the table for you. And what do you think the people sitting at that table did? Sat down, they sat next to him, and they shared their beverages. They talked, right? And so Nasruddin, being the wise teacher that he is, he stands up at the table. He picks up maybe some pasta, right? Some Italian pasta, and he says, pasta, okay, coat, eat, enjoy it, coat. And then he picks up a date and he says, oh, coat, enjoy this. And then he picks up some of that chocolate. Oh, this is too bad, Bob. Picks up that chocolate and he puts it in his coat. He says, coat, enjoy this, eat this. And all the people around him just start staring at him. What are you doing? Why are you putting that food in your coat? And Nasruddin says, clearly it wasn't me that you wanted here. It was my coat. So the coat is going to eat, right? So how can we not expect people to come in their finest coats and welcome them for who they are and how they show up? Thank you all. Good job, guys. Good job.
Would you please stand as you're able? Turn to 182 if you choose to hold a gray hymnal, and if you want, we have plenty, but many people don't. And just, you can read the lyrics. 182, Oh, the Beauty in a Life. It's a very simple song that we don't sing very often, so if this is new to you, you can hang out till the second verse and try to throw a note or two out then. But join us in singing, Oh, the Beauty in a Life.
The words for extinguishing our chalice are from Reverend Mari Cifuentes. First, we're going to do them in Spanish. When we do that, I will say a line, and then please repeat it after me. Then we'll do the English together. Extinguimos esta llama, pero mantenemos su luz en nuestros corazones. Su luz en nuestros corazones. con su mensaje de amor y justicia, con su mensaje de amor y justicia, llevándola fuera de estas paredes, al mundo en que vivimos, hasta que estemos juntos otra vez, And now all together, we extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again.